Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie Yeadon. I'm the CEO and co-founder with Impetus Digital. At Impetus Digital, we have built some of the best-in-class asynchronous and synchronous virtual collaboration and communication tools. We have worked with pharmaceutical companies from across the globe over the past 14 years to help them virtualize everything from internal strategic brand planning meetings to medical education programs to advisory boards and everything in between. What's really important is that we actually help pharma companies with their physicians, payers, allied healthcare providers, patients, get together asynchronously and synchronously through a series of touch points throughout the year so they can help navigate patient programs, strategic ideas around market access, what they're doing about their clinical trials, as well as their medical and marketing initiatives. All this being done through our virtual collaboration platform. But more importantly at Impetus, we really believe that everything starts with a conversation. And from these big, hairy, audacious conversations with some of the leading edge thinkers, digital provocateurs, and healthcare thought leaders, we can all work together to collectively and positively disrupt healthcare. So I'm really happy to having one of these healthcare thought leaders at the table with me today. This is Marius Rus. He's actually a finance and strategy expert who became a healthcare entrepreneur. He started his career in banking and business line management before going to do his MBA program at Berkeley in 2011. Shortly after that, he caught the entrepreneurship bug and he began his first startup. And at that time, he didn't manage the fundraising at the time and was not able to move past the proof of concept. Instead, he actually decided to move on to consulting as well as to investing. So in 2016, Marius, he once again got bitten by the startup bug, and he was working as a strategy manager for a large software development company in Romania, where he was in charge of their portfolio as well as their internal incubated initiatives. He was trying to spin them out, basically. So in 2017, he finally decided to launch his second startup. This was focusing on wearables applied specifically to mental health and wellness. And all this while he was also advising and consulting startups in fintech, digital health, as well as e-commerce. Welcome, Marius. So happy to have you on the show.
Hi, Natalie. I'm very happy to be here.
Absolutely. So quite a whirlwind of things that you have done in your career, really interesting things. So I was wondering if maybe we could start off the conversation with you just giving us a little bit of a recap of your career trajectory.
Sure, absolutely. So as you mentioned, I actually started out in banking, and I spent the first 7-ish years basically growing towards management position, even though it was quite fast. I reached the highest point. I was leading a unit doing mortgage lending, and it was just before the financial crisis from 2007 2009. It actually reached Europe a little later than US, but by the time it reached, it was pretty clear that banking is going nowhere. So I decided to move, going nowhere for a time, not forever. I decided to take some time and continue my education, and I started looking at MBA programs. I went to Berkeley for a couple of years, and as you said, that's where I got bitten by the entrepreneurship bug. So immediately after graduation, I started together with several of my colleagues our first startup. We got through an accelerator. We created our MVP, but we couldn't raise funding at that point, so it kind of died out. And I got back to initially to consulting and then to investments. I worked with a couple of big names in consulting. I worked with Kearney. I worked with BCG. And then, as I said, I was at I don't know, an investment associate, and afterwards an investment director in a couple of small investment shops in growth equity and in turnaround and distress. And I think that the part in turnaround and distress was my second my second turning point, because I realized that while I really enjoy the investment process, I'm not a big fan of that end of the spectrum where the companies are about to die and you either I don't know, try to save them by being extremely aggressive or even cut them up and sell them in pieces. So what I was doing, only, I don't know, investment memorandum and negotiating deals and whatnot, everything was very interesting, very exciting. But when I had my first end-to-end deal and I was really deep into the, I don't know, into the operational side and into I don't know, firing people and deciding what units we should close and stuff like that. And I said, okay, that's definitely not for me, and I like building up companies better. And initially, I was doing it for those guys in that software development company, and then I said, well, I should do it for myself. And I know choosing healthcare and choosing medical devices and hardware and healthcare kind of come again a little bit by accident, because it was a direction in which my co-founder and wife was moving also. She's a PhD in economics. She teaches investments at the local university, but she was with me in the US, and she volunteered with some schools there, and she actually ended up working with children with special education needs, and that opened a second career for her. She went through the Faculty of Psychology. She got a master's in child development and counseling afterwards, and she continued to work with children that are specifically with ADHD and autism. And at one point, I was already advising startups on go-to-market and strategy, and she was finishing up her thesis for the master's degree, and also working with some children, most pro bono, because it was before the thesis. And we realized that we could put this together and realize that there is it was obvious, it was straight in our faces, the fact that there's a need there that's not covered, and I don't know, we looked a little bit at it and we decided that maybe it can be transformed into a business, so we could also both I don't know, bring help and to these children and also create a self-sustaining business.
Yeah, Marius, what a wonderful confluence of things that brought you to where you are. That's really, really interesting, because, that was going to be my next question is, mental health is a big issue these days. So the fact that you were already on that earlier on is really interesting, but I can see how that all those confounding factors, brought you to where you are. So you started a company called Tully, or the wearable device is Tully.
The company is called StressLess. The wearable is Tully.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about what it was like getting that started, and tell us a little bit about what the company is and does.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was quite long to get it started. So we actually started looking at it, I don't know, around 4 years ago. Maybe the first 6 months were just doing research, thinking about whether or not there is a market, how would we put it into operations, and then the next and the biggest challenge that we had initially was finding people to build it, because I'm coming from the strategy and finance area. Adina is coming also from the academia and from psychology. So we knew what we wanted to do. We knew how to use it and how to I don't know, help children with that. But we needed still somebody to build it for us. So it took us more than a year to find the right team as co-founders, but the right technical team. We have 2 co-founders that are specialized in hardware prototyping and in embedded software development. But it was long because it's very niche, at least from I don't know, within Central and Eastern Europe, where you're looking at at software development, there's a lot of people. When you're looking at hardware, it's not so many, and especially when you're looking at somebody that has the experience and the I don't know, and let's say resilience to do it as a startup, because there's a difference between, and I've seen it in, I don't know, on both in San Francisco and in Romania. There's a huge difference about how you create a startup. So when you're looking at the Bay Area, on one hand, the culture is set in such a way that most everybody is doing a second or even a third project besides whatever they are doing. It's not so spread out in, I don't know, in Eastern Europe. Also, you have a lot of people that are able to do it and to rely on savings to start and focus for several months on developing something and see where that gets them. Which again, the savings part is not necessarily at best in here, and also funding is much easier on the west coast of the US. Not only on the west coast, but it's definitely much easier than here. For us, it took longer because for the first couple of years we were completely bootstrapped, but we all had to also work I don't know, for a living. So it was only a part-time involvement, and we were doing it as it go. And also, I don't know, hardware is hard and it's expensive. So it took us a lot of experimentation to do it. We started out as with the idea that we can do it. We can do only the software part. So we were thinking we're going to use some kind of off-the-shelf wearable to I don't know, to work with it, but we couldn't find anything that was suitable. And to come back to the second part of your question of what we're actually doing, so we are focusing on emotion management and emotion recognition. So you have a huge area of sensory integration disorder. So ADHD and children is only one niche out of it, where the people that are I don't know, that are having that type of condition do need a little bit of help managing the day-to-day stress, because their reaction to stress are sometimes maybe too obvious or too immediate, and they might want to get things a little bit under control. And it's not only for mental health. This is something that applies to everybody. There are a lot of people that want to have more control on their emotions, on emotional reactions than they actually have, because they feel that they are a little bit too reactive to whatever they need to do. So what we are doing is that our wearable tracks a wide range of physiological indicators, and we are using this to forecast these high intensity emotional reactions. So, and when we're doing something, when Tully does something like that and tracks and I don't know, forecasts an oncoming emotional flare, it alerts the wearer, and the wearer goes through whatever type of coping mechanism or calming exercise they already know how to do. Because whenever you're talking about high intensity of I don't know, emotional management, or regulation, you are looking at two things. One is what you can do, what you have to do to calm yourself down, and the other is when to apply that method. And the first part is usually quite easy. I mean, there are a lot of exercises on, I don't know, respiration, movement, even some kind of almost meditation type of exercises that can help you calm yourself and bring everything under control. The big problem is recognizing when you need to do that, and Tully does exactly that. So basically works as an external observer and alerts whoever's wearing it that, yeah, you might need to, you might want to calm down because I don't know, you're getting heated.
Right.
So that's
Yeah. So that's actually very interesting. So just expanding on what Tully does. So basically, so tell us a little bit, is it a wristwatch or where does it go on the body? What does it exactly do? Does it tap the person? Does it give it an electric pulse? What is it reading? And after somebody has and how does it tell the person that they're having an emotional response? And what do they specifically do after they're notified?
Yeah. So at this moment, so the first version, it's a wearable. It's a bracelet, so it goes on the wrist. It's very discreet. So we built it so that it doesn't I don't know, jump off the wrist and somebody might detect it, because as I said, our first niche, it's ADHD, and not only ADHD, is children and teenagers that are affected by hyperkinetic disorders. So the use case is within school environment, so they don't want to be to come up and be observable about, I don't know, wearing something that's medical use. So it looks very close to a regular, I don't know, fitness wearable. It has no screen, so it's just I don't know, a black or a colored wearable on the wrist. It tracks a wide range, as I said, it tracks a wide range of indicators. So it tracks the regular ones, I don't know, heart rate, level of oxygen in the blood, temperature, movement, but it also has two of them that are needed to have a correct evaluation, and these are the ones that were needed that made us create our own wearable. I'm talking about the heart rate variability, which started to appear now in some of the wearables. I think that the latest Apple Watch has it, and some of the Samsungs have it, but not all of them. And also the galvanic skin response, basically the skin conductivity, which at this moment is not available on any kind of commercial wearable. So it is used in some medical grade devices, but they are extremely expensive and very bulky, and you cannot really use them in a day-to-day type of setting. So it tracks all of this, it integrates them, and I said it kind of estimates the probability of a very high intensity emotional response. We are using a machine learning algorithm, so it takes something between a couple of days to a week until Tully learns you well enough to be able to say, this is your calm area, this is your normal reaction area. So I am alerting you when things are going outside the normal reaction, so that you can know about it. Initially, it's going to have maybe a lot of false positives. So we integrated a method for the user to tell the device, no, that wasn't an alert, I'm okay. And once this alert is given, so the interaction with the user is in two ways. The main one is through a haptic vibration. So the device vibrates on the wrist. Nobody can see or hear it, so it's completely discreet. We also have a system of communication with lights, with an LED, which can be turned off, and it can be also customized. So you can, as a user, you can decide that you want to, I don't know, you want Tully to tell you that you're agitated by moving from, I don't know, a blue to a yellow type of light, or you want a standard, I don't know, red and green, or you want a full set of lights, a full spectrum that would also indicate the intensity of I don't know, your feelings, because vibration is discrete, nobody will see it, but in the same time it's limited in the amount of information that it can provide you as what's happening with you.
Yeah. Okay, so that's actually really interesting, and you know, comes in the bracelet. It gives you a little bit of a vibration. So I was just curious, what about the data? You're saying there's some machine algorithm. Is this actually connected to a phone? Is it edge computing? Is it collected in a big data lake somewhere?
Yes.
And what do you actually do with this information? And not only that, but is there some interoperability so that other people, including caregivers, can also assess what's happening?
Yes, absolutely. So basically the data is is available to the user. So because we are a European company, we have to be very strict about the GDPR. So users can even go in and delete their own data. Of course, if they do that, the accuracy of the device will drop instantly. But what it does, we do collect all the data, we interpret it, and it is available to the user through our platform. It's not yet, we haven't yet launched the app. We are also planning to do that too, but we also only have a, I don't know, a desktop-based platform. And yes, they can also give permission to a the caregiver has access, or the person that that has paid for it has access to that, but they also can give permission to a medical professional. So the platform has a built-in way in which they can either send an invite to a medical professional, or they can pick that medical professional off the existing list if they are already in the system, and this medical professional will have access to the full data, to the complete view on the way that person has I don't know, has the feelings and the behavior of that person. And from our point of view, we think that that's actually even more valuable than the immediate help that or the immediate notifications that the users are getting, because you get an objective way of evaluating whether or not, if you're talking about somebody that's under therapy, you get an objective evaluation of that therapy. You can actually look at it and see how it was 3 months ago.
Fantastic. Awesome. So I was just curious as well too, is what are you planning to do with this? Is this going to become a software as a medical device? Is there clinical trials? Certainly, I think there's some questions. Is this data support that by notifying somebody that they're going to be, getting a response, does it actually change the response? If not, are you doing clinical trials to support this? What is the plan of action?
So technically, by notifying that, you're not getting the response. You're actually doing the first step in an intervention, because everything that we're doing with Tully is basically being done if that child, for instance, is lucky enough to have a specialized counselor sitting next to them in the classroom. So basically, doing this alert is the very first step in any type of intervention that is focused on this area. What we are doing with it, we are doing two things. One is that we actually launched it already through a Kickstarter campaign in August, and we'll be delivering the devices to the first buyers in end of November. And we are also starting a clinical. We launched it as a consumer electronic. In the same time, we are moving along with clinical trials. We are working together with University of Barcelona and Hospital Sant Joan de Déu, also from Barcelona, to put up a complete clinical investigation to demonstrate that, yes, I mean, we did, of course, run small scale testing with I don't know, groups of people that are group of patients and control groups, but they are below the numbers that I don't know are needed for a clinical decision to set it up as a medical device. So the plan is, yes, to go towards medical device, to include it in the reimbursement pathways from the healthcare insurance, and to have it available to everybody that needs it. Because when we launched it in Kickstarter, we had, even though we had not a huge success, but we had quite a good result. We sold about 600 devices, but we had a lot of comments about the fact that it would be better if it were, or more affordable if it were reimbursed from the health insurance.
Beautiful. Well said. Fascinating. Sounds really, really exciting and very promising. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this either knows somebody who could potentially use this. So look for that on the Kickstarter. and for any upcoming launch plans. But if anybody else who's interested in potentially talking to Marius about partnering, strategic partnership, maybe including it as a potential patient-reported outcome tool for a clinical trial, please look for his contact details in the show notes below. If you're interested in this conversation, also check out impetusdigital.com. These are the kinds of conversations that we have, again, with physicians, payers, allied healthcare providers, learning and planning for clinical trial protocols, developing interesting tools like this, or partnering with interesting software companies like this for the marketing and the launch or the management of your product. So please check out that. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We would also appreciate if you can leave us some feedback on iTunes. We want to thank everybody for their time today. And thank you, Marius, for a fantastic conversation.